Hey, what is up? What is up, everyone? This is Julie here, and welcome to my live stream Smash That CNA Exam. As you arrive, if you would please comment on the city and state you are tuning in from. I'd really appreciate that. I'm going to wait just a few more minutes to get started to see if other folks join in, maybe 1 or 2 minutes. And while I'm doing that, I just want to tell you all how much I appreciate your love and support for my channel. I really, really do appreciate it. I do have Super Chat available to you. If you would like to donate to my channel, all you have to do is click on that $ underneath the chat box, and you can purchase a Super Chat. What this does is it enables your comment to be highlighted and virtually seen by everyone. Okay, so if you would like to, and if you are able to purchase a Super Chat, please feel free to do so to donate to my channel and help continue to support my channel. Hi, Courtney. Very nice to meet you from Michigan is joining in with us tonight. I'm excited, very excited to be here with you all tonight. Just going to wait a few more minutes to see, well, maybe not minutes, right? But just a few more seconds before we get started here. Ooh, I'm so tired, guys. I really am. I had a very long day. I had another group of students to test today. So it's been a very long, tiring day for me. But as I promised you, I'm going to get through this live stream. Ubi Charles from Houston, thank you for tuning in with us. So we got Texas and Michigan in the house. Great, awesome. Courtney, if you could tell me, please, for some reason, I cannot, hold on 1 second, guys. I'm trying to see if, there we go. There we go. Well, I had actually all of them passed the skills. I had 8 to test today. All passed the skills, and 2 failed the written. And they failed the written because they overthought the questions. And that's what I'm going to talk to you all about today. All right. So I see we have 3 people in the house. We have Michigan, Courtney from Michigan. We have Ubi, and Ubi, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, from Houston, Texas. And the third participant, if you could please comment on the city and state you are tuning in from. And we're going to go ahead and get started here in just a bit. As I promised you, this is going to be a live stream that you do not want to miss. I'm going to cover a lot of information. So while we're waiting for more people to join in, if you want to go grab some paper and a pencil or a pen to take down notes, I highly advise you to do so, okay? Because it's going to be a lot of information. And of course, you can always replay this live stream on my channel. Okay. So again, thank y'all so much for your continued support and love that you're giving my channel. I really, really appreciate it. If you would like to, or if you are able to purchase a Super Chat to donate to my channel, all you have to do is click on that $ in the comments section or the chat box, and you can purchase a Super Chat. This enables your comments to be highlighted, okay? So we're going to go ahead and get started. All right. So you have completed. Hi, Monica. All right, Monica is joining us from Pennsylvania. All right. No problem. I'm glad. I'm honored to be able to do this for y'all. Really, I am. So you've completed your training exam, or maybe you're still in training, okay? And you're thinking, okay, so once I do complete, where do I go from here? You know, do I play the waiting game and to register and wait and register to take my test? Or, you know, do I go ahead and register right away? I'm going to tell you the biggest mistake, and I do consultations, right, for a fee, of course, but I do a lot of consultations, not only with instructors, but candidates alike. And the biggest mistake that a candidate can make is to wait to register for their exam. And when I say wait, I'm not talking about a couple of weeks or a month or two. I'm talking about a year or a year and a half. And I'm going to tell you why that is the biggest mistake to make. Because the information is no longer fresh in your mind. The theory information is no longer fresh, and the way you perform your skills, or don't even have availability to go somewhere and work with the mannequin or work with the live person to perform your skills. So that is the biggest mistake that you can make. And I know a lot of people do that because of their nerves. Well, let me tell you something. If you are nervous the day you graduate your training program, you're going to be 3 times nervous if you wait a year or a year and a half to take your exam. Hi, Adiza from Virginia. Adiza, I think you participated in one of my live streams, one of my previous live streams. So thank you so much for tuning in to this one. But what I advise nurse aid candidates to do is to give yourself 2 weeks. Okay, 2 weeks after you have graduated your training program. This way, you know, you have time to refresh your memory. You have time, maybe, you know, you'll still have availability to your training program site to go in and to you're welcome, and to practice your skills. Okay, but really that's all you need is 2 weeks. Again, if you're nervous the day you graduate, you're going to be even more nervous if you wait a year to a year and a half to take your exam. So strongly advise you, if you are going to play the waiting game, don't wait more than 2 weeks, you know, up to a month to take your exam. Okay, so now a lot of times people are nervous because they don't know what to expect. So briefly, I'm going to talk to you, excuse me, about the exam day process. Now you have to keep in mind that there are three, okay, authorized test administrators, and depending on what state you live in, depends on what administrator your state uses. And some states actually have dual administrators, so it depends on the region or the city that you live in within that state. Okay, so the 3 test authorized test administrators are Pearson VUE, Prometric, and Headmaster. Okay, I live in Texas. Our authorized test administrator is Pearson VUE. Prometric is somewhat similar to Pearson VUE. Headmaster is a little different. Okay, so if you are with Pearson VUE or you are with Prometric, really the only difference is the skills. I think with Prometric, you have to do hand and nail care. Pearson VUE, you do not. Okay, with Prometric, when it comes to feeding the client who cannot feed themselves, they actually have to be sitting in a chair. Whereas Pearson VUE, you do the feeding in the bed, okay, with the person's head of bed raised to a high Fowler's position. So there's just, you know, minute differences with Pearson VUE and Prometric, but you know, all in all, they're basically just about the same. So what is going to happen on exam day? I will tell you, exam day is an all-day affair. It truly is. It's an all-day affair. You will want to bring something to snack on, something to drink, maybe a little throw blanket and a little pillow, right? Because you will have some downtime, especially during the skills portion of the CEP, or the competency evaluation program, which is by the way, your state certification exam. You're going to have some downtime, and you need your mind to rest a little bit, right? Your brain to rest. So just, keep that in mind, to bring something to eat, bring something to drink, maybe a throw blanket or an extra jacket, just in case your testing site is cold, and also maybe a little pillow, okay, to rest your head on. As people are entering, if you could please, please, please comment on the city and state in which you are joining us from. I'd really appreciate it. Again, if you want to donate, and if you are able to donate to my channel, you go ahead and click on that $ underneath or within the chat box, and you can purchase a super chat, which will enable your comments to be highlighted at any time. If you have any questions or you want to write any comments, please do so, and I will answer all questions to the best of my ability, okay? So, exam day. If you're taking both the written and the skills, or if you're just taking the written portion of the CEP, exam day starts promptly at 8 a.m. with or without you, okay? With or without you. I know that sounds cold-blooded, but that's the way it is. That's why it's really important for you to arrive at your test site at least 30 minutes prior to your test time. So if you're taking both or just the written portion, starts at 8 o'clock, you need to be at your test site at 7:30. Okay, that way you can go in, maybe you can look around the test room right before the evaluator gets there, just so you can get a blueprint in your head as to where everything is at. If you're only taking the skills portion of the exam usually starts between 10:30-ish, depending on the amount of candidates that are testing that day, and they can only test up to 10 candidates in a day. Hi, Zariel from Detroit, Michigan. Awesome. Motown in the house, right? All right. So just arrive 30 minutes before your scheduled exam time, okay? If you're only taking the skills portion, you may want to get there between 9:30 and 9:45, okay? Because it will start between 10 and 10:30. So what is going to happen is that everyone is going to be seated in a waiting room, wherever the waiting room is at your test site, okay? And I will tell you this, it is very important for you not to listen to what other folks are saying while you are waiting to be called in to be tested, okay? And I tell you this because if it is not someone that has trained at your training site, they may train differently, okay? Their instructor may tell them how to perform a certain skill differently than what your instructor did. And what's going to happen if you listen to that person, you're going to start second guessing your instructor, which you should never, ever do, okay? Never, ever do. And then you're going to start second guessing yourself, and you're going to screw up on the skills exam. Trust me, okay? So you don't want to listen to what others have to say while you are sitting in that waiting room. At 8 o'clock promptly, the excuse me, the nurse aid examiner or evaluator will have all the candidates file into the written test room. Now, some test sites will have one room for the written portion of the CEP and another room for the skills portion. There are some test sites that have just one room for both, okay? So once they file you in, or as they file you in, that's when the NAE will be verifying your IDs, okay? And you have to have a government-issued Social Security card, and your second ID is going to be a valid signature-bearing photo ID, okay? So it cannot be expired, and it has to have your signature on it. So it can be a work ID, a school ID, as long as it has your signature on it, a U.S. passport, it can be your driver's license or state-issued ID, okay? As long as it's signature-bearing and it is not expired. Once she has verified all of the IDs, she is going to have you all take a seat. She may tell you exactly where to sit, or you just walk in and sit wherever. okay? He or she will give you instructions before taking the written exam. Some NAEs will tell you it's okay to write in the booklet, while other NAEs tell you no, do not write in the test booklet. So it's really important that you actively listen to what the NAE is instructing you to do and not to do, okay? Because a lot of NAEs will not repeat their instructions. You are given 2 hours to complete the written exam. 2 hours. Your written exam will consist of 60, depending on what state you're in, 60 to 75 questions, okay? And usually 10 of those questions, I only held up 5, but 10 of those questions are filler questions. They're used for statistical data, okay? They're not scoreable. Only 60 questions are scoreable. But the thing is that you don't know which 10 are the filler questions. So it's best that you answer all questions to the best of your ability, and as all questions are scoreable, okay? So once you have completed the exam, let me back up. Yeah, I got my little notes here. There are 6 versions of the written test, okay? You have an orange version, you have a green version, teal, purple, pink, and yellow. The purple version, I believe, is given to the folks that request the oral form of the exam. And I will tell you, if you choose the oral when you register, you're getting the best of both worlds, because you're not only hearing it, but you also get a test booklet, okay? So you'll be hearing and you'll be looking. You can see the question on paper, okay? So a lot of times I encourage nurse aid candidates, just go ahead and register to take the oral. What is it going to hurt? You're going to get the best of both worlds. Hi, Carmen. Oh, well, hey, you know what? I have all the skills except for feeding, radio pulse, and respirations. Those are the only 3 skills that I have not done on my channel. And I probably won't do respirations and pulse because those are really, really simplex skills. And I probably will not end up doing those. However, I do plan on doing feeding, okay? And I just have to find the time to do it. But thank you so much for your comment. I appreciate that. So they have the different versions, and with the different versions, each version, it's going to have different questions on each version. So if there's only 6 of y'all testing, and no one is taking the oral, everyone will have a different test. If there's more than 6 of you, there may be 1 or 2, maybe up to 3 people that will have the same version test, okay? But the NAE will distribute those to where, 2 versions or the people with the same versions are not sitting next to each other, okay? And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the program. So you're given 2 hours to complete the test. Again, 60 of those 70 to 75 questions are scoreable. Once you complete the exam, the NAE will have you to walk out of the test room and wait in the waiting room, okay? During this downtime is the time for you to just review, just look over the skills, your skills in your nurse aid candidate handbook. So it's really important that you bring your handbook with you so you can look over just the skills, okay? You're not trying to learn the skills, because trust me, if you don't know your skills, how to perform them at that point in time, there's no crash learning, okay, when it comes to the skills. So basically, you just want to, look over a couple of skills that you may have some questions about, and that's it. Once everyone has completed, you're going to have about 15 to 30 minutes of downtime, okay? And again, that's when you can, either rest your eyes or review your candidate handbook. During this downtime, that's when the NAE is faxing over your answer sheets to the test administrator or to the authorized test administrator. Okay, so it's going to take time for him or her to get those faxed over. Once the authorized administrator receives those answer sheets, they are going to review and score them. After they review and score them, they're going to fax the results back over to the nurse aid examiner. Now, there are some nurse aid examiners that will tell you right then and there whether you have passed the written portion of the CEP, while others will wait till the very end of the exam to tell you, right? Anticipation, right? I think I'd rather wait till the very end, because if I don't pass the written, it's going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be feeling down, right? When I go into the skills, and you don't want any negative energy going into the skills portion, which is the most intimidating part of the exam. So once the evaluator receives the results from the test administrator or the authorized administrator, he or she is then going to call you in by pairs. Okay. And it's not by alphabetical order. A lot of people tend to think that they call you in based on, your last name in alphabetical order, and it's not. It's actually based on your skill set. Once you register for your exam, a computer generates your skill set immediately. I mean, as soon as you register, your skill set is generated. Okay, it's sent to the NAE about a week before the date of testing. Okay, right? Because they have to try to figure out who they're going to pair, okay, based on the skill set. They don't want to base or pair people that have the exact same skills, right? So they have to look and analyze each skill set to make sure that the skills aren't the same, whoever they pair up with. You may have one or two skills that are the same. Sometimes it's just not avoidable, but they don't want all the skills to be the same, okay? Sorry, I got to take a sip of water. So once they call you back in pairs, okay, and again, it's not based on alphabetical order. It is based on the skill set or the list of skills that is on your skill set that you have. They're going to bring you back. They're going to show you around the skills test area, and they are going to give you the opportunity to look at the supplies, test out any equipment, and I strongly advise you to do so. Even if you feel like you don't need to, do it anyways, okay? At this time, this is the time when you can see, because I will tell you, you may not have, or the test site may not have the same type of supplies that you're used to training with, okay? Some test sites will not have chucks or, what you use for as a linen protector. So you need to know what is there. If you have a skill that requires a linen protector and there are no chucks, well, you can use a towel, okay? Because a linen protector is just something to protect the sheets that is large enough to protect a certain area, okay? So you can use a towel instead. But you want to do this so you can make a blueprint in your head of how you're going to navigate your landscape. In other words, in order to help save you time, because you only get a certain amount of time to complete all 5 skills, you want to be able to navigate how you're going to move from the bed to the sink, or from the sink to the designated dirty area, back to the bed. So this is your time to start planning your navigation too. And I will tell you, when it comes to side rails, there are different types of side rails. There are different types of bed remotes. So it is a good idea that you do test those features out, okay? Again, you're given 5 random, or you're given 5 skills. You're always going to have hand hygiene, which is always going to be your first skill. Your second skill is going to be one of the 5 measurement skills, with the exception of urinary output. Urinary output usually comes towards the end of your skills exam. And then 3 random bedside skills, okay? In most states, you have to complete all 5 skills within 30 minutes, okay? So once everyone has completed their skills, that is when the NAE will hand you your results, okay? And either you'll be smiling or you'll be crying, right? If you know your skills and you know your theory information, you're going to be smiling, okay? And if you don't, if you didn't pay attention in class, it's a good chance that you will not pass your certification exam, and that is okay. You have, an additional 2 times to attempt to pass your exam, okay? So that's basically the exam day process in a nutshell, okay? Just know that it is an all-day affair, an all-day affair. And if you have 10 folks testing, just plan on being there till 4:30 in the afternoon, okay? All right? Do any of y'all have any questions about the exam day process? I'm sorry, my throat is getting dry. Okay, if there's no questions, I'm going to go ahead and move on to how you can prepare for your exam. And I will tell you this, preparing for your exam begins day 1 of your training cycle. You have to be really disciplined to learn and take in what your instructor is attempting to instill in you. You have to know the information, the theory information, and you have to have a good understanding. A lot of students will remotely memorize just for test taking, but you can't do that. I mean, this is information that not only you need to know for your state certification exam, but as your role as a nurse aide. So you have to have a good understanding. So from day 1, you want to participate in group discussions. You want to ask questions, ask questions, ask questions until you have gotten a good understanding of that theory information, especially if you are in a fast track programs. Fast track programs are considered to be like your 3 weeks, your 3-week training programs to up to 6 weeks. Okay, those are your fast track. So you want to ask questions. That's the only way you're going to learn, and that's the only way you're going to get good information. Whatever the instructor gives to you, you have to take it outside of the training and practice. Practice, 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 especially when it comes to the manual skills. And I tell my students, I allow my students to check out supplies, okay, as long as they return them back in the same order, way that I lent it to them, they can continue to check out the supplies. However, if you're at a training site where they do not allow the supplies to leave the building, and there are some training sites like that, you can make do with what you have at home. I tell my students, look, get if you have kids or you have, little brothers, little sisters, nieces, or nephews, you can use their baby dolls or Barbie dolls to practice range of motion, right? You can use them to practice Peri care. You can use a straw to practice catheter care, right? Make do with what you have at home to help you practice. PPE, you can go out and buy some latex gloves, and you can use a robe or something or a shirt to act as the gown, right? So there are things that you can do at home that you can use right in your home if you don't have or are not allowed to check out supplies. So really just preparing is starting on day 1, okay? So Monica is asking what sort of opening and closing procedures should be done with respect to the client when the skill isn't performed on a client, like donning and removing of PPE or denture care. And I was going to actually go through that when we got to skills, the skills portion, but I will tell you the NAE is going to instruct you on when She would want you to do. No, you're fine, Monica. Thank you for asking. You are fine. I know y'all, it's getting late and y'all have your lives, right? You want to get up and go watch some TV or something or eat dinner. So I'm going to try to do this really quickly for you all. So thank you so much for your question. But the NAE is actually going to instruct you on when she or he would like for you to do the opening procedures. And usually it's only going to be once during, before your first bedside skill. I strongly advise you to do your opening procedures before you do hand hygiene. So when the NAE says, okay, your time starts now, I will go directly to that live person, address that person by name, introduce yourself, explain what you are going to do. You can always explain the measurement scale. I'm going to, weigh you today. Or you can just say, hey, I'm going to be assisting you with ADLs, or I'm going to be helping you out today. Okay. Whatever you want to explain. At that point, do your brief safety check. Bed is in a low safe position. Your bed wheels are locked. Go ahead and provide that person with privacy, and give that person their call light in their hand. Okay, in their hand. But you have to realize that we are human. We get tired of holding stuff. So that person may set that call light down somewhere. So before you say skill complete, you want to check, do your closing procedures and make sure that that person still has their call light in their hand. I train my students to perform the opening procedures before each individual bedside skill. Okay, each individual bedside skill. So if it's not a bedside skill, if you've already done your closing procedures at the end of the previous skill, you're good to go. All you have to do is go collect your supplies and perform that skill that is not at the bedside. Okay, like PPE, urinary output, or denture care. All right. And I teach my students that way because it will be easier for them to transition from doing it before each individual skill to just doing it once. Whereas if I only train them to do it once, they get to testing and the NAE says, hey, I want you to perform the opening procedures before each individual bedside skill. Then it may mess them up a little. So I always train my students, I don't know, I guess harder, right? So they could be more prepared and it'll be a breeze when they actually get to the testing site, okay? If that NAE does not instruct you on when to perform opening procedures, as long as you perform it before the first bedside skill, you're good to go, okay? So preparing, hey, you gotta pay attention in class. You gotta pay attention to your instructor. You have to ask questions. Stay off your cell phones. Okay, stay off of your cell phones. I make it very clear to my students on day one of training. I have guidelines, and I also include them to make their own guidelines. Thank you. I'm glad that was helpful. Thank you, Monica. To make their own guidelines. But cell phones are a big no-no, big no-no. No cell phones, period. And no, sidebar chatter. I don't expect them to be robots. I understand there's going to be a sidebar chatter here and there, but when I say no sidebar chatter, I mean just, unlimited conversation. So you have got to be disciplined. It all depends on what state you're in. There are 23 skills. However, some skills are not testable depending on what state that you're in. So for like the state of Texas, there's 23 skills, but we're only tested, or the students have a possibility of being, okay. Hey, Agnes, what part of Texas? So Texas, 23 skills. You're only 23 skills, only 22 of those are testable. And that skill that is not testable, Houston, welcome, Ms. Agnes. The skill that is not testable for the state of Texas is electronic blood pressure. Okay. So we have 23 skills, but only 22 testable skills. Okay. And I've only seen a couple of states where they do test on electronic and manual blood pressure. Texas is not one of them. So just know your stuff. That's all I have to say. Know your stuff, okay? The night before, if you are working, I would ask your boss to give you the night off or to let you out early because you want to get a good night's sleep. You want to be able to wake up in the morning fresh, maybe, have a good, nutritious breakfast if you're one to eat breakfast, and just, be prepared the night before. I tell my students, don't watch any of my videos the night before because you have to let your brain rest. You really do. You have to let your brain rest. So don't watch any of my videos the night before. Don't even look in your handbook the night before. Just during that downtime is when I would like for them to review their handbooks. Because again, if you don't know the skill at this point, the day before testing or the week of testing, there's no way you can crash learn the skills. Okay. So that's it with preparing. So what do you expect from the NAE, or what should you expect from the NAE? Just expect professionalism. Okay, they're there to do a job. They are there to evaluate your competency, and that's it. You're going to have NAEs that are personable, okay? And these NAEs will actually ease your nerves because they will speak to you, they will talk to you, and they just make you feel at ease. Then you're going to have the flip, on the flip side, you're going to have NAEs that are very anal, okay? Really, very anal. They don't speak to you. I mean, when I say don't speak, I mean they don't even greet you. Okay, it's like they're the only ones there, right? But you shouldn't let that phase you because as long as you're competent in what you're doing, that shouldn't matter. Okay, although if they are personable, it is going to make you a little bit more relaxed and feel at ease. What the NAE expects of you, they do not expect you to be perfect. They do not expect you to be robots. They expect three things from you, and you need to remember these three C's. Okay, they do expect you to be competent. Okay, they expect you to know how to perform the assigned skills, and that's not being perfect, but being competent. You have the know-how, right? They expect you to be confident, and you're only going to be confident if you're competent, right? And then they expect you to communicate, okay? Not only to the live client, not only to the mannequin, but also to them, all right? If you have any questions before your exam starts, or if you need to make self-corrections, okay? So the three C's: competence, confidence, and communication. That's what they expect of you. They know that you're human. They know that you are students. They know that mistakes are going to be made. Okay. They do not expect you to be robotic. Okay. They don't want you to be perfect. They do want you to pass, whether you have an anal NAE or whether you have a personable NAE. They all want you to pass. But the only way that you are going to pass is if you are competent in what you are doing. And just keep in mind, I got a little spot there on my computer. Keep in mind, the NAE does not pass or fail you. Your authorized administrator does. Okay, so please don't argue with the NAE. Okay, you can't argue with them. You do not, and I'll talk a little bit more about this when we get down to the skills, but you don't want to give the NAE any room to question whether or not you did something or you didn't do something. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about that down the line. Okay, so that's what you can expect from the NAE, and that's what the NAE expects of you. The written portion of the test of the exam. Again, there are different versions. Okay, different versions. There are several techniques that I teach my students to do that will help them choose the correct answer choice. Okay. It's the true or false technique. The true or false technique you can use with questions regarding your scope of practice. And you can, let me see, I don't know if I have it here with me. Hold on one sec. No, I don't have it here with me. But basically, how you use this technique is after you review the question and you review the answer choices, all you have to do is ask whether or not is that answer true or false. If you have 3 truths and 1 false, then the correct answer choice is going to be the answer choice that is false. If you have 3 falses and 1 true, then the answer choice that is true is going to be the correct answer choice. Okay. And I'm going to try to do like a little PowerPoint presentation and put it up here. So with the technique, so y'all can have a better understanding. Okay. Because with me just talking, I'm sure you're probably not getting a good understanding, and I'm probably not explaining really well. But with the PowerPoint presentation, you'll be able to see examples of. Okay. So that's the true and false technique. Then you have the which is different technique. Now, the which is different technique, there's a question on the state certification exam on one of the versions that basically it's telling you that you have a newly admitted resident who is a Seventh-day Adventist. What would be the best beverage to serve that person at the dinner meal? Well, it really doesn't matter whether that person is newly admitted or if they've been there for years, right? It really doesn't matter. That's a bunch of fluff, right? Fluff, that's not important. And what's a Seventh-day Adventist? I mean, I don't know, right? I don't know what a Seventh-day Adventist is. I don't know what their diet is about. Okay. So how can I choose the correct answer, right? And so if you just ignore the question and just look at the answer choices, and you look to see which I think the answer choices are coffee, tea, soda, and lemonade. If you look at those 4 answers, ask yourself which 3 are the same and which one is different, right? Well, if you look at coffee, tea, and soda, those 3 are the same because they're all caffeinated drinks. Lemonade is not caffeinated, right? So which one is different? Lemonade. So if you choose lemonade, you've chosen the correct answer. That's how you do the which is different technique. Okay. I hope I'm explaining. Am I explaining this okay? Y'all let me know. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down so I know if I'm explaining these techniques to you okay. And again, I'm going to create, okay, awesome, great. I'm going to create a PowerPoint presentation so y'all can actually see and, test out some of the techniques on your own, okay? And then you have the high number. Awesome. Good. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, good. All right. I'm getting a lot of thumbs up and a lot of okays. Cool. All right. The next is, so you have the true and false technique, you have the which is different technique, and then you have the high number, low number technique. Now, with the high number, low number technique, you have to be careful. Okay. Because especially when it comes to vital signs, like blood pressure and stuff, because with blood pressure, you have the systolic and diastolic numbers that you have to look at, or if there's, answer choices that also have the unit of measurement. Okay. So you have to be really careful, but for the most part, this will actually work with like your intake and output questions. And you do have a meal intake question on the CEP, and we'll talk about that in a few seconds. But what you do is you eliminate the highest number and you eliminate the lowest number. That's going to give you 2 answer choices remaining. That's going to give you a 50-50 chance of choosing the correct answer. Okay, so let's say your question is, for breakfast, a resident drank 240 mils of milk. they drank what 60 mils of orange juice. Okay, so we know that's 300, right? I think so. 240 and 60, yeah, 300. I can't add, right? So we have 300. Now in your answer choices, you may have it's 425. Then you have, you know, the 300. Then you have 240, right? Because they try to trip you up, right? 240, and then maybe you have 120, okay, mils. If you eliminate the 425 and you eliminate the 120, that leaves you with those two answer choices, 300 mils and 240 mils, right? But you already know it's more than 240 because they drank the 240 of milk plus they drank the 60 of OJ, right? So you can automatically eliminate that third number, that third answer choice, which is going to leave you with the correct answer, 300 mils. I hope I explained that one good, okay? So that's the high number, low number technique. Okay, so you have the true and false, you have the high number, low number, and the which is different. And oh my gosh, there is one more. Oh, prioritization technique. Okay, the prioritization technique is really cool because this is where you have to know, you have to have a good understanding not only of your theory information, but your basic nursing skills. Okay, and this technique, thank you, Courtney. This technique is maybe there's a question on your state certification exam that states, you know, what should the nurse aide do if a fire breaks out, right? What should you do? And it's gonna have all of race. Okay, it's gonna have remove residents, close windows and doors. It's gonna have notify staff, and what's the other one? Extinguish the fire, right? So it has race. You would do all of those, right? You definitely would do all of those. But what the question is implying is, what would you do first? So you're going to prioritize, right? You're going to go with race. Okay, first, I rescue or remove the residents. Second, I alarm or notify the staff. Third, I contain the fire. That's where you close the doors and close the windows. And then fourth, I would extinguish the fire if it's small enough and or evacuate the residents if necessary. Okay, so you're prioritizing your steps on what you should do. Another one is, what's the other one? Oh, before you perform or before you give care to a resident, what would you do first, right? Before being a focus word, and what would you do first? Okay, being a focus word, and that's again, you have to look for focus words in the questions too, like your before, your afters, during, except. Okay, those exception questions can be a little tricky, so you got to watch out for those too. But so it's going to have, you explain the procedure, you provide the person privacy, you knock on the door, or you address the resident. Okay, what do you do first? Y'all answer that for me. What do you do first? Before giving care, what should the nurse aide do first? Explain the procedure, knock on the door, introduce yourself, provide privacy. What should you do? I'm waiting. There you go. Knock on the door, right? You do all of those. You do all of those before all of those answer choices are correct. But which is the first one? Which one? That focus word is what would you do first? And the very first thing you do is knock on that door, right? Okay. So okay, yeah. So you do all four, but the very first thing you do before you perform any type of care is you knock on the door, then you address the resident by name, then you introduce yourself by name and title, right? Because they need to know, are you the nurse? Are you the doctor? Are you the CNA, right? And then you explain the procedure, and then you do your opening procedures, you know, a brief safety check, providing them privacy, get all that stuff out the way, right? So the answer to that question is knock on the door. If you chose knock on the door, you are 100% right. All right. So I'm going to, so those are the 4 techniques. Whew. Those are the 4 techniques: true and false, the prioritization, high number, low number, and what was the other one? Oh, I'm getting my mind. Prioritization. Okay, the 4 techniques. So this right here, I don't know if y'all can see it, but let me see. Yeah. Can y'all see that? Give me a thumbs up if you can see it. I'm sort of shaky. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm not getting any thumbs up, so I don't know if you can see it. But this first question right here is an actual question on the CEP. The food choice may be different. And actually, I think it's hamburger. I think it's a breakfast one. I think it's bacon and eggs. I have like a lunch or dinner one. But on the CEP, okay, on the CEP, it's actually telling you the person has bacon and eggs, which accounts for 50% of the meal. And then they have like milk, which is 20%. And then 2 other things, okay? They ate all of the bacon and eggs, and they drank all of the milk. What would the nurse aide, or what should the nurse aide document? Well, you're going to document 70%. Okay, that's the answer, by the way. Okay, 70%. All right, and what's going to happen is they're going to have the food name, or the food item in the little pie chart, and then they're going to have the percentage. Okay, and then the question is going to tell you how much they ate. You just go by the percentage. If they ate all of it, well, you know, the bacon and eggs are 50%. If they ate all of it, that's 50%. If the only other thing they drank was the milk, and that's 20%, then you would document 70%. Okay. All right. Don't tell nobody I'm giving y'all some of these questions now. Okay. All right. And then, of course, I have more questions. I just have to get them typed up. But if you want them, I'm going to type in my email address, my business email address, and you can, all you have to do in the subject line when you email me is put, I want those questions. Okay. And I will email them to you. Another question is, like when giving a back rub, what should you use? Answer choices: hot water, lotion, nothing, or both A and B. Well, you know you're not going to use hot water, right? So you can definitely eliminate that question. I mean, answer choice. You know you got to use something, right? Because you want to be able to reduce friction. So you can eliminate nothing. And then because you've already eliminated hot water, you can eliminate the answer choice D, which is both A and B, which only leaves you with the correct answer. B, lotion, right? Okay, see, there it is. I don't know if you can see it. There it is. But I will email these to you, okay? They have a lot of questions, several questions on infection control. So you need to really know your infection control. Let me see. I think I have one of them on here. I must not have typed that one up yet. But I thought I had typed it up. I must not have typed it up. But one of the questions is for infection control is if the person gets vaccinated, okay, the person receives vaccinations, what chain or what part of the chain of infection does it break, right? Well, I think the answer choices are like portal of exit, the reservoir, susceptible host, and something else. Well, if the person's vaccinated, they're no longer a susceptible host, right? So that's the answer. Okay. The written question is 90% common sense. Okay, 90% common sense and 10% knowledge and understanding. Really, it is. Okay, 90% common sense and 10% knowledge and understanding. Okay, and you have to be careful because, like with some of these prioritization questions, all the answer choices may be correct, but you have to choose the best, okay? And sometimes it will have choose the best answer or which is the best response, right? Okay, so you have to look for those focus words, okay? You really do. You have to look for those focus words, okay? Um, Another question, and I'm gonna give this to you. Have y'all been taught about bed cradles? Hi, Gabby, my little girl just walked in. Hi, Gabby. Have y'all heard of bed cradles? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Okay, great. There's a question on the CEP about bed cradles. Okay. So if you don't know what a bed cradle is, it's not to cradle the person or to rock them to sleep, okay? Which is one of the answer choice. I know that's one of the answer choices. So you see when I'm saying that the test is 90% common sense and 10% knowledge, and knowledge and understanding. So Zariel and Courtney, okay, a bed cradle is a device that is used. It's like a wire device. It's like square. I wish I had it. You know what? Let me do this. And this is exactly what it looks like. I don't know if you can see, but that's what it looks like. It's a cradle. And what it's used for is you place it at the foot of the bed, okay, like on over the mattress, and you place the sheet over it. It's used so the sheet, the top sheet, will not be in direct contact with the person. And it basically helps to avoid direct pressure, okay? And we all know that direct pressure causes pressure ulcers. Okay, so, and I'm telling you, the answer choices are, to cradle the resident, to rock the resident to sleep. And there's one other answer choice, and then the correct answer to avoid the person, having unrelieved pressure, or to keep the sheet raised, over the person. So that's what the bed cradle is. Okay, remember that. Okay, that's what it is. All right, so it's getting a little late here at 7:10. I really want to talk about the skills. Let me see if I have my book here. I do. I want to talk about the skills real quick. If you have any questions regarding the written portion of the CEP, I'm going to go ahead and type in my business email address here. knapsackconsultant.com. There we go. Okay, so there's my business address. Okay, again, if you want these questions, I'll probably get them finished getting them typed up tomorrow, and I can have them to you by tomorrow evening. Okay, if you want a copy of these the updated CEP test questions, I think it's like about 20 or 30 of them, something like that. Okay. And what I do is because I don't know, I have a conscience, right? And so what I do is I don't give the exact question, but it will be the same, either the same context with different content. Okay, So it's not exactly the same, but it is, okay? We'll get an answer choice or maybe different answer choices, but the correct answer choice is always going to be in there, okay? All right, because I do have a conscience, right? Because y'all do need to know this information. Y'all do. And y'all know I'm right. But anywho, so um, so if you have any questions, please feel free to email me at any time. So let's talk about the skills portion of the exam. Again, you are going to be required to perform 5 skills. It's the same with Prometric. They give you 5 skills. And with Headmaster, um, they give you 5 skills also, but it's in, you're welcome, Courtney, you're welcome, but it's in scenario, it's like in a scenario format with Headmaster, okay? And I think it's only like a handful of states that use Headmaster as their authorized test administrator. Pearson VUE, you know, has more states are with Pearson VUE, and maybe about 30 to 40% of the states are with Prometric. But again, Prometric and Pearson VUE are somewhat similar. It's just that Prometric has skills, testable skills that Pearson VUE does not. Really, that's the only difference, right? So let's talk about these skills, okay? We're going to go over all these skills except for electronic blood pressure. And what I'm going to do is focus on the critical element steps. Those are your bolded steps, okay? So with hand hygiene, you have 2 critical element steps, steps number 5 and steps number 7. If you have your handbook available, might be a good idea that you get your handbooks out, okay, so you can look at these steps as I go through them. Hand hygiene, step number 5 and step number 7 have 3 variables that if you omit or perform them incorrectly could cause you to automatically fail a skill, right? Because if you omit or incorrectly perform a critical element step, that's an automatic fail unless you self-correct before stating skill complete, right? So the 3 variables in step number 5 is, you know, washing your hands for at least 20 seconds. I teach my students to wash for at least 20 seconds first and then clean your nails, okay? Because if you lather, thank you, Gabby. If you lather, right, and I'm gonna do it like this. So I'm lathering, right? And then I clean my nails, okay? I'm going to end up losing count as to where I was, right? So it's always best that you lather for at least 20 seconds. I have my students to use the storm count. That's the 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, all the way to 25. That will guarantee you 30 to 45 seconds of actual lathering, okay? Once you do that storm count to 25, then clean your nails, okay? And you can do it just like this, rubbing your fingernails against the opposite palm. Don't forget your thumbnail, okay? Opposite palm, don't forget your thumbnail. Or you can do it one nail at a time, just like that, okay? One nail at, we'll see, I almost forgot my thumb. One nail at a time, okay? All right. If you do like this, please do not forget your thumb. If you forget your thumb, you're not going to get credit for step number 6. Okay. So that's the first variable, the 20 seconds. The second variable is maintaining, let's see if I can pull this down, maintaining your hands below the level of your elbows. Okay. So they have to remain down. Okay. If you lather like this, that's 2 variables you're performing incorrectly. 1, your hands are above the level of your elbows, and 2, your fingertips are pointing upwards, not down. Okay, or if you lather like this, okay, you're lathering like this, or you're lathering like this, which is sort of awkward, right? Your hands are below your elbow, the level of your elbow, but your fingertips are up. So just make sure your hands are in the sink without touching, okay, below your elbows and fingertips down, okay? 3 variables. Step number 7, that deals with the rinsing, okay? If you do not rinse all of the soap off of your fingers, your hands, your wrists, and I would say your lower arm, okay? Because as you're lathering, especially when you're doing your wrist, right? You see what's happening? That soap, you're pushing the soap up your arm, okay? So you need to make sure that you rinse off all soap. How I tell my students to do is while you are keeping your hands lower than your elbows, just twist your arms, okay? Twist your arms and wrists to look, to make sure you have the soap off. You do not want to do this. Okay, lift them up in the air, because then you're going to incorrectly perform one of the variables, and that's keeping your hands lower than the level of your elbows and fingertips down. Okay, so those are 3 variables in both of the critical element steps that if you omit or you perform incorrectly, you will automatically fail the skill. Now, when it comes to turning on the water, if your sink at your test site has 1 tap or 1 faucet, you want to make sure you turn it to the middle setting. If it has 2 taps or 2 handles, you need to turn on both handles. You don't have to turn both to the middle setting, but you just have to turn them both on. So 1 handle, turn on to the middle setting, okay, or center setting, and 2 handles, just turn both of them on. Remember to wet your hands first and then get the soap. Get a lot of soap, okay? A lot of soap. Knock. You want me to knock? Ubi, I'm knocking. No. So you want to get a lot of soap, okay, and to lather your hands. While lathering, if the soap dissipates, all you have to do is reach over and get more soap, okay? The most incorrectly performed step is, excuse me, I'm sweating here, is step number 2. And now with the new update, step number 8. Okay, for some reason, people will turn on the water and just go and reach for the soap and then wet their hands and start lathering. You can't do that. You have to wet your hands first. Step number 8, you have to dry each individual finger on each hand, okay? And then you can dry the remaining areas of your hands, wrists, and lower arms. If you get a paper towel, I got one right here. If you get a paper towel and you do like this, and then do your fingers, you're going to receive a no for that step. Or if you do like this, you grab the paper towel, do like this, and then clean your fingers, you're trying to be slick, right? That NAE is going to see. This is considered cleaning your hand, okay? It's considered cleaning your hand. So you don't want to do that. You grab that paper towel and go straight to your fingers, dry each individual finger, and then you dry the remaining areas of your hand. And I'm gonna use this because I am sweating. I don't know why. I'm like sweating. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that is hand hygiene. Do y'all have any questions on hand hygiene? Thumbs up or thumbs down? You're good with hand hygiene. Okay, so when it comes to this, and I wanted to tell you this too, when it comes to the cleaning of your fingernails, if you start lathering your hands and then you clean your fingernails, okay, great. What's going to happen is once you start cleaning your fingernails, the NAE is going to stop the timer. And then once you start lathering your hands again, he or she will restart the timer. Okay. All right. So, but it's always best just to get the 20 seconds out the way first and then clean your nails. All right, knee-high stocking, critical element step number 8. Okay, the 2 variables, making sure that the stocking is wrinkle-free and making sure that the heel of the stocking is covering the heel of the foot. If you perform any of those steps incorrectly or you omit, It's an automatic fail. Okay, automatic fail. Um, with the new updates, once you pull the stocking up the leg, if you state the stocking must be wrinkle free or the stocking is or should be wrinkle free, you're going to receive credit for that step as long as the heel of the stocking is covering the heel of the foot. And the reason why they made this change was because, you know, the mannequins, they have bolts, they have dead space in the joint area, and candidates were actually having a really hard time getting that stocking to be wrinkle free. So that's why they changed the update to where the candidate, all you have to say is stocking is wrinkle free. Okay. And you'll receive credit as hi, pretty as a peach. Thank you for joining. As long as that heel of the stocking is covering the heel of the foot. Okay. And if y'all watch my video, you'll see how to do it the easiest way to make it really easy. You open up that stocking, put all four fingers except for your thumb in that, and just stretch. It's elastic, so stretch it out. Keep it stretched out as you're putting it on the mannequin's foot. Okay, and it'll slide right on. Okay, and always support. And I know this is my wrist, but I'm acting like this is my foot. Okay, and this is my ankle joint. Always maintain support underneath the ankle. If you maintain support at the heel of the foot, you're not going to receive credit for step number 8. Okay, you're not going to receive credit for step number 8. If you hold the foot up like this, you're not going to receive credit for step number 8. So always, whenever you lift that foot up off the bed, make sure you're supporting underneath the ankle joint. Okay, all right. Any questions with knee-high stocking? All right. We're going to talk about assist to ambulate. She just, my little girl just took my napkin. Oh. Wow, pretty as a peach. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, once y'all got to understand, once you schedule the test and for any reason, if you have to cancel or you're not able to make it, the state or Pearson VUE, your test administrator does not refund your money. Meaning, if you know you're gonna if you want to retake the test, you're gonna have to come up with the money, you know, out of pocket again. So I know that's a huge hardship, especially if it's a situation that's out of your control. So I'm really sorry to hear that, pretty as a peach. Really sorry to hear that. Assist to ambulate using a transfer belt. You have, and you, 2 critical element steps number 3 and steps number 6. You have to assist the person into a seated position with their feet flat on the floor, meaning oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope he's okay. I really do. I hope he's okay. Those seizures can be a booger, man. They really can. So I hope he's doing well now. You have to assist the person into a seated position. If you watch my video, you'll see an easy way how to sit them up, swivel them to the side. And as they scooch up to the edge of the bed to where their feet are flat on the floor, you have to keep your hand on their shoulder. If you move your hand away from them and then tell them, okay, scooch up till your feet are flat on the floor, you will not receive credit for step number 6, and you will automatically fail the skill. Okay. What other? There was another step that I would. Oh, okay. So when you place the gait belt, okay, when you place the gait belt, it states to place the gait belt securely over securely at the waist over the clothing / gown. Well, as the acting client, that person is going to be wearing a gown. If that gait belt touches that person's street clothes, you are going to receive a no for step number 7. Okay. So to ensure that the gown is completely closed in the back, after you get that person into a seated position with their feet flat on the floor, before you place that gait belt, go ahead and close the back of the gown, okay, as much as possible, and tie the waist strap. And the reason why I tell you to tie the waist strap, because as you're placing the gait belt, you're moving that gait belt around because the buckle's not supposed to be over the belly. So you're moving it around. As you're moving it around, guess what's happening to the gown? The gown is moving around in the back and it's coming open. And what's going to happen? That gait belt is going to be touching that person's clothing, their street clothes. Okay. So close that gown and tie the waist strap. Okay. You want to do that for transferring too. Okay. Because transferring, you have to apply the gait belt also. Okay. When standing, assisting the person to stand, your knees have to be touching their knees, or your toes have to be touching their toes. Your body has to be in contact with the client's body. The NAE is going to be positioned where she can see that the person's feet are flat on the floor, and she or he can see that you are your knees, if you're stabilizing the person's legs knee to knee, that your knees are indeed touching that person's knees. So when an NAE walks up on you or walks closer to you, don't get scared. Don't start thinking, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong? It's just that they've been trained and instructed or directed to be in a position where they can actually see certain steps. Okay, that's all it is. And usually if you're vocalizing or verbalizing everything that you're doing and you're speaking loud, once they see that is done, they're going to back up off you and give you your space. Okay. Um, let's see. And as a matter of fact, I have I do these grid sheets for my students. These grid sheets are very similar to what the NAEs use. The only difference is that theirs is in portrait layout. I do mine in landscape. But over here, I don't know if you can see, over here in the comments section, I have everything that right here, like right here in the comments section. These are little comments that will help you have a better understanding of what the step is actually requiring you to do. And it's letting you know how the NAE is evaluating that step. So if you want a copy of the grid sheets, again, email me at my business email address and just put grid sheet. Okay. No, Monica, just one or the other. And it's easier to do. I'm not gonna say easier, but I don't know. I'm. It's probably just me. I'm not like well coordinated, and you think otherwise because I used to be a gymnast, right? But it's easier if you just do it knee to knee instead of toe to toe, because toe to toe you'll actually be standing in front of that person, and is sort of awkward trying to lift that person with the gait belt. Whereas when you're standing knee to knee, even though you're in front of that person, you're closer to that person. So I would do it knee to knee. You can watch my video on ambulation to see how that's done. Okay. I'm going to type in my email address again here. There you go. So if you want the questions, if you want the grid sheets, again, in the comment section, just put, questions or grid sheets, or both questions and grid sheets. Okay. Assist with use of bedpan. There is no longer a critical element step, but because of this, the NAE is going to be a little bit more meticulous with how she grades this. You just want to make sure that you place the bedpan correctly. The narrow end of the bedpan is going to be facing the footboard, and the wider end should be facing the headboard. There are no self-corrections when it comes to the putting on and taking off of gloves unless you make that self-correction before the NAE instructs you to put on gloves, okay? So you want to make sure when it comes to infection control, you put your gloves on when you're supposed to, and you take them off without self-contaminating yourself when you're supposed to. Once that NAE directs you to put on your gloves or to remove your gloves, you're not going to receive credit for the step, okay? So basically that is it with bedpan. You just want to make sure that the toilet paper and the wipes are within that person's reach. And again, you don't want to leave any room for that NAE to question, now, can that client reach that toilet paper and wipes? So what I tell my students to do is once you place it within reach, you ask that question. You ask that client the question, can you reach these? Okay. And if that client says yes, that's going to leave no room for that NAE to question whether or not they can. Because you have to remember every single thing that you are doing is the perception of what that NAE sees you doing. Okay. It is. That's the truth, right? So, and then again, you want to make sure that you instruct the person as to what the wipes are for. Okay. Mm-mm. No, there's. I want to say Michigan. Are you from Michigan, Monica? I can't remember. Or Detroit. I don't think Michigan is tested on bedpan. I know there are several states that aren't tested on catheter care. So if it has in your book, not Philadelphia, PA. Okay, so Pennsylvania, no, there's another skill that Pennsylvania is not tested on. I want to say it's electronic blood pressure. But yeah, if your handbook says not tested and it's usually like a watermark. Oh, thank you, Liberty. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's usually like a watermark. I can't even talk. Watermark, and it will have skill not tested. If your handbook has that across and it's usually diagonal, then no, you are not tested on that skill. Okay. You don't even have the instructor doesn't even have to train you on that skill, but that's part of your responsibilities as a nurse aide, so it should be taught. Yeah, what a relief, huh? That's great. I know. But still should be taught, but you don't have to. It's not testable in your state. Okay, good question. Thank you so much. Cleans upper and lower denture. Watch my updated video on this skill. None of the steps are really order dependent on each other. So you can perform the steps, in the most logical order. The new video that I updated, I think, or uploaded, I think it was just last week. That's the video that you want to use when practicing. Cleans upper or lower denture because I actually changed around the steps a little bit to make it in a more logical order, make it easier for you to perform. Yeah, you should. Yeah. Uh-huh. Great. Awesome. Okay. So with this, steps 3, 6, and 8. Step 3 and 6 refers to the rinsing of the denture. Step 8 refers to the water that you fill the cup with. If you notice, it says in the step moderate temperature water. Okay, moderate meaning lukewarm. Meaning if your tap or faucet has 2 taps, you have to turn on both handles. If it has 1 tap or 1 handle, you have to turn that handle to the middle setting. If you do not, You will not receive credit if you do that. If you don't do it for steps 3, 6, and 8, you're not going to receive credit for any of those steps, okay? Moderate temperature, meaning it's implied. If you have 2 handles, you turn on both handles. If you have 1 handle, again, just like with hand hygiene, you turn that 1 handle to the middle setting, okay? And really that's about it. Again, watch the video because I'm showing you how to do it in the most logical order. That way you'll always have your hands free when it's time for you to clean those dentures, okay? Just maintain the clean technique of the toothbrush. Counts and records radial pulse. If you have radial pulse, what's going to happen is once you get to the bedside, whatever side you're on, the NAE is going to be on the opposite bedside. They are going to cover up the person's arm and then place their hand, where they should, to check radial pulse. The reason why they do this is because they don't want you, the testing candidate, seeing where they place their fingers. Okay, right? Because you're supposed to know, right? On the thumb side, okay, for pulse right here, okay, thumb side. So that's why they do that, okay? And while they're doing that, they're watching you to see where you're placing your fingers, okay? And you can use 1 finger, you can use 2 fingers, you can use 3 fingers, you can use 4 fingers, okay? Just don't use your thumb. Your thumb has a pulse itself, so you don't want to use your thumb, okay? And really, that's it. I'm not going to talk too much about respirations and pulse. Just know you have to count for 1 full minute. You have to tell the NAE when you are going to start and stop. If you do not, you are going to automatically fail this skill, okay? If you do not tell the NAE when you're going to start and stop, it's an automatic fail because the NAE is not going to know whether or not you counted for 1 full minute. So it's an automatic fail. So make sure you state that. If you do, if you do your opening procedures, like this is how I tell my students to do their opening procedures. Of course, you're going to knock on the door. Good morning. Good morning, Miss Monica. My name is Julie. I'm your CNA. I'm going to be taking your pulse. First, I'm going to do a brief safety check. Make sure your bed is in a low safe position. I'm going to shake that bed. Your bed wheels are locked. Here is your call light. Put it in that person's hand. Here's your call light. I'm going to provide you with privacy, washing my hands. I'm going to go collect my supplies. Well, in this case, you don't have any supplies to collect, right? So I'm washing my hands, okay? If you do your opening procedures, if you do your closing procedures, it is not mandatory for you to say washing your hands before you do pulse. But if you do opening procedures, it's just automatic that you do that, okay? But it is not mandated. It is only mandated or required that you verbalize washing your hands before you record your measurement, okay? So I hope I answered your question there. Okay, you have to be within plus or minus 4 beats from the evaluator's reading. With respirations, you have to be within plus or minus 2 beats. And with these measurement skills, thank you, good, I'm glad it did. With these measurement skills, I noticed that some candidates, and maybe it's just because nerves, but what they'll do, they'll get to the bedside and they'll say, I'm going to start and stop on the 12. And then they go and they check for the pulse, right? And some people's pulse can be thready or weak, and it may be hard for them to find it. Don't do that, okay? You check for that pulse first and make sure, wherever you're feeling is strong, okay? Or bounding, very strong. And then once you have it, you tell the NAE when you're going to start and stop. Now, the NAE, once they feel the pulse, they're going to tell you, I'm ready. Just because they're ready doesn't mean you're ready. Okay, so you wait until you are ready, then you tell him or her, I'm going to start and stop on whatever number. Okay, the same with respirations. You need to look and see where you can see the person's respirations. Can you see their chest rising and falling? Good, or their abdomen. You know, which can you see better? Okay. I tell my students, hey, ask the person if you can put your hand on their chest. That way, you're not only seeing your hand rising and falling, but you're also feeling their respirations. Okay. All right, y'all got me? Or can I place my hand on your tummy, or can I place my hand on your shoulder? It's okay for you to ask that. Okay, remember, you're the one that needs to pass this exam. So you do whatever it is you need to do. You instruct that client to do whatever it is you need them to do, okay, in order to pass this exam. Um, Hi, Samaya. So Samaya is she's going to be taking her exam on May 24th. And her English is not so good. Um, Thank you, Monica. Thank you. Her English is not so good. Well, you know, Samaya, there are a lot of people who in which English is their second language. Okay, don't let that be a barrier to you passing your exam. Don't let it be the cause of you being nervous. Okay, you. It's good that you communicate what you're doing, even if you have to communicate it in Spanish, okay? But when you're speaking with the candidate, if that person does not know Spanish, then you're going to have to verbalize to them. Gabby, no, I'm sorry. She's trying to take down my pictures. Hold on, guys. Gabby, no, stop. And leave my picture alone, please. Thank you. All right. She was trying to, I love my little girl. She was trying to take my picture down off the wall. I didn't want her to get hurt. But you know, you have to, because you have to explain the procedure to the person. You want to make sure that person is able to understand what the procedure is. And by the way, you don't have to use medical terminology. Let's say, like, if you have the skill ambulation, all you have to say is, I'm here to help you walk. Okay. Instead of I'm here to ambulate you, you can say I'm here to help you walk. As long as what you're describing is what the skill is. Okay. So you don't have to use the exact terminology on this, you know, as the skill. Okay. Um, but don't, Samaya, I wouldn't let that worry you. And don't be scared. You know, as long as you know the skills and you're competent, you're going to do just fine. Okay, you're going to do just fine. So donning and removing PPE, uh, you cannot, I repeat, you cannot tie the neck strap and then slip the gown over your head. That's a big no-no, okay? You have to unfold the gown, okay? Do not shake. Once you do like this, that's considered shaky, okay? So do not shake the gown open. You hold it up, let it unfold. If it gets stacked, because sometimes, you know, static cling takes over, just take one hand and just manually unfold it, okay? You'll place both arms into the sleeve. You don't have to place them both at the same time. You can place one arm and then another arm. It doesn't matter which, if you tie the neck strap or the waist strap, they're not order dependent, so you can do either or. You want to tie it in a loose bow or a slip knot, because what happens is when they're undoing it, it knots up, okay? And you don't want to spend a lot of time trying to undo that knot. If it knots up on you, all you have to do is just break it, okay? That's all you got to do, break it, right? And so Courtney's laughing. But people do that. They'll tie it, and you're not even supposed to do that in real life, okay? That's a big no-no, okay? But they'll tie it and place it over their head. Don't do that. Again, don't shake. When taking off the gown, you want to go from the inside. So I've already undone the neck strap and the waist strap. Now you want to go inside and you want to remove it. So you don't want to touch the outside of the gown. Go inside and remove it, roll it away from you, okay? And then immediately dispose of it. The critical element steps are steps number 7 and steps number 8. And that is the removal of the gloves, okay? So if you cup your hand into a C, you're going to get some leadway here. You just grab your glove, pull it off, ball it up, and then take your 2 fingers, go underneath, turn it inside out, and then throw it away. And then that's how you take off your gloves, okay? You want to make sure that when putting on your gloves overlap. So you put on the gown, then you put on the gloves. You're welcome, Samaya, no problem. You are most welcome. When taking off, you remove your gloves first, and then the gown in the manner that I just showed you. I think that's it. The gown has to be closed as much as possible in the back. So once you close it and you tie the waist strap, it will be a good idea for you just to readjust it, okay, to make sure. As long as the NAE sees that you are readjusting, making sure that the gown is closed completely in the back. If you have like a little opening, they're going to give it to you because they know that you know it needs to be closed in the back. And how they know is that they see you readjusting it, okay? Oh, you're welcome, Jack. Thank you. Thank you. So that's PPE. We have a few more skills to get through. Client with the weak arm. So step number 7 is the critical element step. That's a step that requires you to dress the weak arm first, which is the right arm, okay? Now, even though it doesn't state it, okay, it is implied because that arm is weak, you have to support it. Hi, Gabby. This is Gabby. Hi. Hi. You want to say hi to everyone, Gabby? This is Gabby. Gabby is with Down syndrome. She's nonverbal and she uses sign language to communicate, but she only uses it when it's an advantage to her. I love you, Gabby. Okay, so 2 variables, right? You have to assist with that arm. So you have to support that arm underneath the wrist joint and underneath the elbow joint. If you do not, you're not going to receive credit for step number 8, okay? Also, if you, at the end of the skill, she's getting ready to turn off the light. She has me in the dark. Gabby, really? Gabby. Okay. Can y'all still see me okay? For some reason, she likes the dark. But if you, Gabby, you make me forget. Gabby, Umi says hi. She says hi back. If you don't, you are not going to receive credit for step number 8. And if you watch my video, I'm showing you. Thank you so much, Monica. Thank you. She's getting ready to get into something else. I don't know what. But if you watch my video on dressing, I'll show you I show you or demonstrate a very easy way how you can support that arm when removing the gown and how you can support that arm when putting on the shirt. So there's 2 variables, and that's just the supporting and just making sure you dress that arm first, okay? You take off strong, which is the left arm first, and then you put on weak first, okay, the right arm. Now, you have to have that person covered from chest down to over their feet, okay? Chest down to over their feet. If not, that's considered overexposure, okay? And you're not only going to receive a no for this step in the skill, but you're also going to get dinged for dignity, the 5 indirect care skills. And I'm going to talk to you all about that as soon as I finish up with these skills, okay? So what you can do, so you can, it's always best to work with both hands. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Ubi. Gabby says, thank you so much. And hi back. Um, what you can do is you can have that person or instruct them to hold the sheet in place with their chin, or thank you, Gabby, or to hold it in place with their strong arm. Okay, you can instruct them to do that. Okay, and because they are able to follow instructions, they should do that. Now if they do it on their own, you have to be careful. Okay, because that NAE may determine that that person is trying to help you, and then you're automatically going to fail the skills exam. Okay, so uh if you're acting as the client, you do absolutely nothing unless instructed to do so by the testing candidate. You say absolutely nothing unless spoken to by the testing candidate. Okay. Even if that candidate is instructing you to do something that you know is incorrect, you still have to do it, because if you don't, you're going to mess it up for that testing candidate, because that NAE is going to be like, no, you were giving that person cues. So they're going to tell that person to stop. They automatically fail the skill, and they're going to have to reschedule. Okay. So if you're acting candidate, say nothing, do nothing unless instructed to do so by the testing candidate. So I think that's it. Oh, the most forgotten step. The most forgotten step. Oh no, that's not it in this one. Never mind. I'm thinking about bed bath. Okay, so that's it for dressing. Feeding client, the most important thing is just to remember to place that person in a high Fowler's position. In your book, it says 75 to 90 degrees, but I will tell you what is 75 degrees to you is not 75 degrees to me, and is not going to be 75 degrees to that NAE. So it is best for you just to hike that head of bed all the way up. Okay. The acting candidate, they can move around to, be comfortable. But you are the one that's testing. So if they're uncomfortable with that bed being hiked up to 90 degrees, oh well, it's only for a few minutes. Okay. And you need to pass this test, because I will tell you again, it's the perception of that NAE. Okay, whether or not that head of bed is up at 75 degrees. They don't use like a little meter to measure the angle, but they only use their eyes. Okay, and we all know that everyone's eyes see differently. Okay, so just hike it up to 90 degrees. The most forgotten step is step number 4. People will always tell the person what food is on the tray, but they forget to tell them what beverage. Okay, so don't forget. You let them know. Okay, so today you have a peach, a pear, a pineapple, and a cherry, and you have water to drink. Okay, or whatever the beverage is at your test site. Usually it's going to be water, right? They're not going to pay for apple juice or orange juice, so it's going to be water from the sink. Um, so just make sure you tell them the beverage. If you don't tell them the beverage, and you only tell them what food they have, you're not going to receive credit for that step. Another forgotten step is the cleaning of the hands before you feed the client, and the cleaning of the hands and mouth after. Okay, so you clean the hands before, clean hands and mouth after. If you use a dry cloth, like a washcloth, you're not going to receive credit for the step. The cloth has to be moist. So you can use a wet wipe, you can use a hand wipe, you can use a damp washcloth. Okay, it has to be moist. If you use a dry cloth, again, you will not receive credit. You have to use a spoon to feed the person. Okay, a spoon. Some NAEs will place a fork on the tray to see if you use that fork. Some may have forks on the supply table or in the supply cabinet. just know you need to get a spoon, okay, and use the spoon to feed the person. I always tell my students get 2 spoons, or if the NAE already has a fork on the tray, use the fork to help scoop the fruit up into the spoon, because a lot of times them little boogers can be hard to get up in that spoon, right? Even if you bend the plate, it's hard to get up in there. So always grab 2 spoons, okay? And so you can use 1 spoon to scoop it up into the other, or if there's a fork, use that fork to scoop it up. Just know you need to feed with the spoon. Once you remove the tray from the bedside, the NAE will give you instructions on where he or she wants you to place it. It's usually going to be at the sink area or at the designated dirty area. Okay. And if they don't tell you, just place it in the designated dirty area. You don't have to throw away, the cup or, the wipes or anything like that, or the plate. You just take the whole tray with everything on it and place it wherever they instruct you, or the designated dirty area. I will tell you this: do not bring the entire package of wipes or hand wipes at the bedside with you. The only skill that requires you to do that, or where it's okay to do that, is bedpan. Okay. So with feeding, you just take out 1 or 2 wipes and place it on the tray, and then carry the tray over to you. Another thing, the meal card, you have to pick up the meal card, okay? Pick it up and look at it, and you have to ask the person to state their name, okay? If you leave it on the tray, remember, it's the NAE's perception. They don't know you're looking at that meal card, okay? That you may be looking at something else on the tray. So you need to pick it up and say, can you please tell me your name? Or can you state your name? You cannot say, is your name Courtney? Or is your name Monica? Or is your name Jack or Ubi? You can't say that, okay? You have to ask them, will you please tell me your name? Or can you state your name for me, okay? And please, please, please pick up the name card, okay? Don't leave it on the tray looking down. Pick it up, okay? You want to make sure that you leave the person in a high Fowler's position. So once you complete the skill, do not lower the bed, okay? Keep it in the high Fowler's position. Modified bed bath. If y'all have questions, please go ahead and ask comment on the questions, okay? Modified bed bath, your critical element step is step number 6. There are 4 variables that could cause you to fail. 1, you have to begin with the eyes. If you do not begin with the eyes, it's an automatic fail, okay? Then the second variable is how you clean the eyes, okay? So if you do like this, If you do like this, If you air clean, automatic fail. You have to start from the inner canthus to the outer. And I'm going to show you with this napkin real quick. Okay, this is how I tell my students to fold their washcloths. You fold it in 4s, and you use the open, I don't know if y'all can see this good, but you use the open corners, okay, of the washcloth. So with the open corner, I'm going to clean from the inner canthus to the outer. Then I just flip to a area of the washcloth, inner canthus to outer, flip. I'm going to do one side of the face, flip, do the other side of the face. And now, because I haven't used the closed corners, I can clean one side of the bridge of the nose and then turn it over and clean the other side of the bridge of the nose. Bam. Okay. So for all your skills, even with Peri care, I will fold my washcloth like this, okay, in 4s. All right. Just like that. Okay. The third variable is whether or not you put soap on the washcloth. Remember, you do not use soap when you're cleaning the face, okay? So you just wet the washcloth and begin cleaning with the eyes, okay? Clean area for each stroke. If you place soap on the washcloth, The NAE is not going to say anything until you get close to that person's eyes. Then she is going to tell you to stop and instruct you to get a new washcloth. If you get a washcloth, if you get the new washcloth and you don't put soap on it, you'll receive credit for the step. If you get another washcloth and again you put soap on it, the NAE is going to tell you to stop. You do not put soap on the washcloth, and you will automatically fail the skill. Okay, so they're actually giving you the opportunity to self-correct without you actually saying, I need to make a self-correction. Okay. And then the fourth variable is just making sure you use a different area of the washcloth with each stroke. Oh my gosh, this is a long live stream, huh? I was only planning on it to be an hour, but I guess it's just so much information. Really, it is. Okay. The next step that is performed incorrectly is the washing, rinsing, and drying of the underarm. Okay, so you're going to clean the hands. And remember, I think in my video, I haven't updated this video yet, but with the 2018 NNAAP updates, you now have to wash, rinse, and dry the fingers individually. Okay, so just as you dry with hand hygiene, each individual finger, in this skill, you have to wash, rinse, and dry each individual finger. Okay, so you can't just do like this. Okay, you have to do each individual finger. That's with washing, rinsing, and drying. And it doesn't matter if you start underneath, the arm and the armpit, the arm or the hand, the finger. It doesn't matter. They're not order dependent. But your armpit is the dirtiest part of your arm. So it's sort of kind of gross. Like if you start with the armpit and then you clean the person's fingers. I don't know. That's just me, So Gabby's getting ready. Oh, she turned the light off again. But so I train my students to start with the fingers and then clean the arm. And then the last thing you clean is underneath the armpit. Okay. And you have to clean the armpit. This is not the armpit here. This is not the armpit. This right here is the armpit. Okay. Gabby, hold on 1 second. She's getting ready to knock down my picture. Gabby, stop. Okay. Don't knock down my picture, please. Okay. I'm sorry. All right. So you have to tell that person or lift that person's arm and make sure, oh, she's taking my Smarties. Make sure you get underneath the armpit. I'm addicted to these Smarties, the sweet tarts. And I have like a whole bunch over here. Here, Gabby. Gabby. Okay. So it's very important. And a lot of people will not do that. They'll just do like this. The NAE is going to be positioned where he or she is able to see that you're getting underneath the armpit. And if you are not, when you wash, you're not when you rinse, you're not when you dry, that's 3 steps. Okay. And even though they're not critical element steps, that's 3 steps that you'll miss. Okay. And potentially fail that skill. Okay. So you have to get up underneath the armpit. Okay. And you don't want to raise the person's arm like that because now you're overextending their arm, but just lift it up, get up under there and say, I am washing underneath the armpit. I am rinsing underneath the armpit. I am drying underneath the armpit. Okay. All right. Let's see. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it with bed bath. Oh, hold on. No, it's not. The most forgettable step, believe it or not, is the removal of the gown. The removal of the gown, right? And sometimes the nurse aide candidate won't even realize it when they're collecting their supplies and they've collected a clean gown, but they're looking at that gown and wondering, why did I collect a clean gown, right? And they end up placing the clean gown into the linen protector. Linen protector, the linen hamper. I've seen it done before, right? And it's like the gown, you have the gown there. It means you have to change the gown, right? So the removal of the gown, of course, is not, you can start with the face and then remove the gown, but you're going to end up forgetting if you do that. So the very first thing that I would do if I were you is remove the gown. Because trust me, you're going to be nervous still. And if you start with the face, you're going to be getting all into it. And then you're going to, start cleaning the arm. Okay. So just make sure the very first thing I would remove the gown and then start cleaning with the face. Okay. Also, another most forgotten step is drying the face. So make sure you dry the person's face, okay, after cleaning it. Let's see. Okay, and it doesn't matter. You can either use a towel or a washcloth to dry the face. I just, so you won't have to, get or gather a lot of supplies. I just, you gather 3 washcloths, one to wash the face, one to wash the arm, hand, fingers, and underarms, and then one to rinse the arm, hand, finger, and underarms, and then one towel. The towel that you use to dry the face, you can also use as the protective barrier to lay up underneath the arm before you clean the arm. And that same towel you can use to dry the arm, okay? So if you want a list of supplies also, because you are going to have to know what supplies are needed for what skills, just email me and in the subject line put supplies and I'll get that to you. So I think that's it. I want to say that's it. Just remember, with all water skills, modified bed bath, peri care, foot care, what else? Catheter care, you have to test the water first. And then when you get to the bedside, you have the client to test the water. If you test the water while it's running, okay, while you're filling your basin, please verbalize it, okay, and make sure you do it, okay? So I turn the water on. Remember, I'm turning on both taps. I'm placing the basin underneath, and then I'm using my fingers to test the water. I'm going to say, I am testing the water, okay? Or after you run it in the basin, you stick your hand in, I'm testing the water, okay? Get over to the bedside. Hi, Miss Courtney, I've tested the water. It feels okay to me. Would you now test it, okay? That acting candidate, the live person, has to actually put their hand in the water, okay, in order for you to receive credit. If they don't, you tell them, I really need you to put your hand and touch the water, okay? Okay, and you just instruct them to do so, all right? Because if they just do like that and not really touch the water, you won't receive credit. And again, if you test it at the sink, when you get to the bedside, I will repeat it. I've already tested the water. It feels okay to me. I would like for you to test it. Now, when it comes to the mannequin, okay, there's only 3 skills that you're going to perform on the mannequin. That's the stocking, peri care, and catheter care. Those are the only 3 skills that are performed on the mannequin. All other skills are performed on the live person, okay? So when it comes to the mannequin with peri care and catheter care, you still have to test the water. But when you get to the bedside, all you have to say is, I've tested the water. It feels okay. And you've really tested it. Okay. I would like for you to test it. You do not have to put the mannequin's hand in the water any longer. Okay. With the new updates, the NAE is going to speak for the mannequin. So you no longer have to put it in. Once you tell them, will you test it to see if it feels okay for you, the NAE is going to say, yes, it feels okay. All right. So you don't have to put the mannequin's hand in the water. Live person client, they have to actually put their hand. How can you test the water? You can test the water with ungloved fingers or gloved fingers. So you can have your gloves on and test the water with your fingers. You can use one finger, two fingers, or all your fingers. It doesn't matter. You can test with your wrist. You can test with your elbow. Okay. All right. So different ways you can test the water. All right. Ooh, we're getting there, people. I promise we're getting there. It's just a lot of information. Measures and records urinary output. You have to measure or record your measurement with increments of 25. If you do not, you are not going to receive credit for step number 4, okay, which is rounds off to the nearest 25 mils or cc's. So there's never going to be an 80 mil. There's never going to be 120. There's never going to be, 60. I've seen it all before. There's never going to be an 85, okay? It's 50, and it's only going to be between 50 milliliters and 250 milliliters, okay? It's not going to be below. It's not going to be above, okay? So anywhere between 50 and 250 mils, you may have to record. But it's going to be 50, 75, 100, 125, 150, 175, 200, 225, 250. Okay, increments of 25. If it is in the middle, let's say you have, where's some paper? I'll use this one. Let's say you have 50 here, then you have 75, and then you have 100. Okay, and let's say, let me put this down here. Okay, so I hope you can see this. So let's say you have 50 here, you have 75 here, and you have 100. If the urine is in between the 75 and 100, you want to round up to the nearest 25. Okay, so instead of saying it's 75, instead of recording 75, you're going to record 100. So you just round up. If it's in between the lines, okay, round up. All right. The only scale that you have to record the unit of measurement is with weight. You're going to record either pounds, lb, or kilogram, kg. And I'm going to talk to you about that in just a little bit here, okay? All other scales, you do not have to record the unit of measurement. And I highly suggest you don't, okay? Because for some reason, instead of putting ml, people put mm. Or they may put cc, but the way they write cc, it looks like an mm, okay? So just don't put the unit or write the unit of measurement, okay? Unless you have weight. So I think that's it. You have to be within 25 mils or cc's of the evaluator's reading. And just remember, when you empty the measuring container or the graduate, you empty it in the toilet, and do not forget to rinse the bedpan, because you have to remember, urine or watercolored urine was in the bedpan. So once you empty that urine into the bedpan, you measure, and you can go ahead and rinse the bedpan out, rinse it, empty it into the bedside commode. Just make sure you do it, okay? You do not have to dry the measuring container or graduate. You do not have to dry the bedpan. That's just a waste of time, okay? You're not going to get dinged if you do, but it's just a waste of time, okay? Anything that contains or contain bodily fluids, all you have to do is empty in the toilet, rinse, empty the rinse in the toilet, and then place it in the designated dirty area. Okay, the only basins you have to dry are going to be your wash or bath basins. Those are the basins that you use for peri care, foot care, and modified bed bath catheter care, or your emesis or kidney basin. Okay, that's the basin you use for mouth care and denture care. Okay, you have to dry those out. All right, so that's it with urinary output. Now, when we talk about weight, the biggest thing is to make sure you zero out the scale before the person stands on it. If you have the person to stand on the scale and then you remember, oh shoot, I need to zero out, just do a self-correction. Okay, look at that NAE and say, I omitted a step. The NAE is going to ask you, what step did you omit? You will then tell the NAE, I did not zero out the scale. The NAE will ask you, when should you have performed that step? And all you have to say is, I should have performed it before I had the client to step onto the scale. The NAE is going to have the client or have you instruct the client to step off and to start over from that point. Okay, so you don't have to start at the very beginning of the scale. You just start at the point where you made the error or you incorrectly performed a step or omitted a step. So zero out before putting on, having the person step onto the scale. Now, some scales will have grooves for pound and grooves for kilogram. If you get a very low number, like if you're weighing me, okay, and you get 40, you get 40. I don't weigh 40 pounds, okay? So when you record the unit of measurement, just put kg. Okay, the lower the number, if you get a really low number, you have actually measured in kilograms. Okay, so put kg for the unit of measurement. Now, if I get on the scale and you measure my weight as being 140, then yeah, I weigh 140. So now you know that, okay, this is pounds. Okay, that's how you can tell if you measured in kilograms or pounds. It was one more thing I wanted to tell you. Oh, for weight, you do not have to assist the person into a seated position with their feet flat on the floor. Okay, waste of time. If you have this skill, if you do that, you're not going to get dinged, but it's a waste of time. You're wasting time. All you have to do is, tell the person, I'm here to take your weight. If you could, please sit up on the side of the bed with your feet flat on the floor. You have to initiate the putting on of their shoes. So you'll pick their shoes up. Here are your shoes. Can you go ahead and put them on for me? They'll put on their shoes. And then all you have to say is, okay, you can go ahead and stand up and follow me to the scale. Okay, so you do not have to assist. The only two skills where you have to assist the person into a seated position is ambulation and transfer. Okay. And on these skills, you have to initiate putting on of the person's shoes. And that is just picking up the shoes and saying, here are your shoes, put them on. If the client picks up their shoes, you won't receive credit for the step, okay? If you pick up the shoes, you initiate and you ask the client, maybe you'll say, here are your shoes, do you need help putting them on? If that client says, yes, I need help, which they should not do, and you start putting on the person's shoes, the NAE will stop you and they are going to tell that client to put their own shoes on, okay? So either way, you do not have to put on the person's shoes, but you do have to initiate it. All right, range of motion. And we're going to talk about both of these at the same time. Modified passive range of motion for one knee and one ankle, modified passive range of motion for one shoulder. The critical element steps are steps 4 and steps 5. Each of these critical element steps have 4 variables that could cause you to automatically fail these skills if you omit the step or perform them incorrectly. And I'm going to tell you what those variables are. The first variable is the rate of speed in which you perform the exercise. So if you're doing abduction and adduction for the shoulder, and if you do it like this, 1, 2, 3, that's too fast, you automatically fail, okay? So you want to perform such as 1, 2, 3, just like that at that rate, okay? The second step is, where are you supporting? So you have to support underneath the wrist joint, underneath the elbow joint, underneath the knee joint, underneath the ankle joint, if you have a modified prom for one knee and one ankle, okay? Always underneath the joint. As soon as you move on top of the joint, you're automatically going to fail the skill. I have seen where candidates was holding the person, I mean, literally holding the person's hand. And I'm like, no, why are you doing that? Right? Their wrist, there's no support at that wrist. So do not hold the person's hand underneath the wrist joint, just like this, underneath the elbow joint, just like this. Okay. The third variable is whether or not you are performing the exercise or the joint or performing the exercise the full range of the joint. Okay, so if you are performing for the, a prom for the shoulder, for flexion and extension, your hand, let's say this is the bed. Okay, this is the bed. Your hand should be touching the bed, okay? And then you're going to flex the arm up to ear level, okay, ear level. So that person's arm should be touching the pillow, okay? If I'm lying supine in the bed, that person's arm should be touching the pillow, okay? And then you bring it back down to where your hand is now touching the bed again, okay? If you do like this, it's not ear level, okay? Ear level. You're not going to receive credit. If you start, okay, this is your hand, you're supporting this is the bed. If you start here, that's not full range. Your hand has to be touching the bed. When you flex their arm should be touching the pillow, okay? That's full range. If you're doing abduction, ab taking away and adduction, your hand should be touching the bed and it should also be touching that person's thigh, okay? That is going to be the full range. And you go to shoulder length. If you go here, that's not at shoulder level. If you do here, excuse me, you're overextending. So shoulder level, okay? The same thing for the knee. You want to make sure that you flex that knee to the full joint. So you're going to be starting with your hands underneath the ankle joint, underneath the knee joint, and your hands should be touching the bed. Okay. And when you do the exercise and you extend it back out, make sure your hands are touching the bed. Plantar flex and dorsiflex. I would lift the foot just a little bit, maybe this much off of the bed, because you want to make sure you get that full range with the dorsi and the full range with the plantar. Okay. So I would just lift just a little bit off of the bed. You don't have to lift it too high, but just lift it a little bit. And then I've seen where candidates, let's say these are my toes, and the candidate has their hand here on the balls of my toes, and they do like that. That's not full range. You're only, flexing my toes back and flexing them down. So the best thing to do is put the palm of your hand on the ball of their foot, just like this. Okay. So now your dorsey, you're actually, see how I'm exercising my wrist, and this is just pretend like this is your ankle. Now I'm actually dorsiflexing. I'm flexing my ankle, and I'm plantar flexing my ankle. Okay. I'm doing the full range. Okay. Not just the toes. Okay. The fourth variable that could cause you to automatically fail either of these two skills, if you have them assigned, is the number of times you perform the exercise. Remember, you have to perform each exercise 3 times, okay? 3 times. So you'll perform abduction and adduction 3 times. You'll perform flexion and extension 3 times. If you have flexion and extension for the knee, you'll perform it 3 times. If you have dorsi or plantar flexion, you'll do that exercise 3 times, okay? And I actually should have added a 5th variable, is the actual exercise that you do. I've seen where people have only done one exercise and they completely omitted the second exercise. It's an automatic fail. Okay, so know that each of these skills have 2 exercises each, and you have to perform each of those 2 exercises 3 times. You have to do it at a slow rate, okay, not fast. You want to make sure you're supporting underneath the joints and you're performing the exercise full range of that joint, okay? All right. Just make sure that the person's in supine position when performing these exercises. I think that's it. Positions on side. Again, you have to position that person on their side. If that person, we're human, right? We may try to turn to the side or initiate turning to the side. Tell the client just to stop, but hold on. I need to assist you. Okay, turning to the side. So when you assist them, you want to make sure you turn them slowly. If you do it fast, you're not going to get credit for the step. So do it really slowly. The most forgotten step, and the step that has caused people to fail, okay, not the skill, not just the skill, but the skills exam, okay, is step number 6, okay, repositioning or readjusting the head pillow. Pearson VUE has failed people for not performing this one step on this one skill. Okay, again, not just the skill itself, but the entire skills exam, okay, because of safety. All right. So the first pillow, after you turn that person, okay, make sure before you turn them, you have that side rail raised. You turn the person, the very first pillow you need to touch is that head pillow. Even if it doesn't need readjusting, you still need to touch it and say, I'm readjusting your head pillow, or I'm repositioning your head pillow. Okay. The next most forgotten step is the shoulder. Okay. You don't have to reposition the top shoulder. Okay. The person's not lying on that shoulder, but the arm that the person's lying, you need to readjust, even if they're not lying on it, even if it doesn't need readjusting or repositioning, you have to touch the shoulder and verbalize, I'm repositioning your shoulder, or I'm readjusting your shoulder. I'm just making sure you're not lying on your shoulder. You have to do that. If you do not, you're not going to receive credit for that step. If you do not readjust the head pillow, you may fail your skills exam. Okay. So the first pillow, just do head to toe, work from head to toe. How, we nurses do our assessments. We start from the head and work our way down. In the same way, when you're doing your observations, you want to start from the head and work your way down. The same way with repositioning, okay? Raise the side rail, turn the person, readjust the head pillow, okay? Place the pillow behind their back, place the pillow underneath their top arm, place the pillow between their legs, supporting both the knee and ankle joint. Okay, has to be both. Pillow has to be under both. So if you place the pillow like this, let's say this is my knee and this is my ankle, you place it like this, my elbow joint is hanging off that paper. It's not going to fly with the NAE. So you may have to cat a corner that pillow to where both, now you see both are on my wrist and my elbow, both on, okay? It has to be. If your ankle is hanging off, the person's ankle is hanging off the pillow, you're not going to receive credit for the step, okay? It's not going to fail you if you miss that one step, but, you want to try not to omit or perform incorrectly, a lot of steps. And then once you do that, work your way around, then you can say, okay, I'm readjusting your, your shoulder, okay? Yes, you will be rolling the person away from you. And the easiest way to do it is, and I always tell folks, if that person is to one side or far to the side in which you're going to be telling them, all you have to do is instruct them to move towards you. Okay. So because when you turn the person, you don't want them to be up in the side rails. So before turning them, you can instruct them, could you move towards me a little bit? If you bend that person's knee, and you can watch my video on positions on side, you bend the person's knee, tell them to go ahead and hug themselves, give themselves a hug, and you'll place one hand on that bent knee and the other hand behind the person's shoulder blade, and tell them on the count of three, I'm going to turn you, 1, 2, 3, and turn. And then you can just tell them, hey, you can hold on to the side rail if you're able to. Okay. So yeah, you're going to be turning away from you. Okay. All right. So yes, good question, Monica. I'm glad you asked that. The lowering of the side rails are not it's not scored. It's not scoreable. Okay. So to save you time, just leave the side rail up. Don't waste time going to try to lower the side rail. It is not scoreable. Okay. So just leave it up afterwards. Okay. Good question. I'm glad you brought that up. And I think that's it. That's it with positions on side. Okay. Catheter care, steps 8 and steps 9 refers to the washing and the rinsing of the catheter. 5 variables. Okay. 5 variables that could cause you to automatically fail this skill if you perform them incorrectly or omit. 5 variables. Okay. And I'm gonna talk about them, the skills as one. Okay, step 8 is the washing, and step 9 is the rinsing of the catheter. Okay, so the first, excuse me, variable is where you are holding the catheter. So let's say this is the book spine. I'm sorry, but let's say this is a catheter. Okay, and oh my gosh, I don't have anything. Okay, so this is the catheter, and let's say this is the meatus, okay, right here. You have to hold that catheter at the meatus, okay? So your hand or your fingers should be touching the labia, okay, of the mannequin. If it is not, if you have it here, you're automatically going to fail the skill. Why? Because this is going to actually cause you to tug on the catheter when washing, rinsing, and drying. So your hand needs to be touching that mannequin, okay? It has to be at the meatus where you're holding, okay? The second variable is no tugging. So if you're washing and then you just drop the catheter back on the bed, that's tugging. Or if you're pulling it while you're washing, that's tugging. So how I tell my students to do it is you're holding it at the meatus, okay, and you're washing. I would lift the catheter up, okay, and wash, and then place the catheter, gently place it back down on the bed and release the washcloth, okay, just like that. The third variable is the length clean. Now, in your Bible, it tells you to clean at least 4 inches. I think some states, Prometric, I think it's like 3 inches or something like that. But for Pearson VUE, it's at least 4 inches. Okay. Again, what's 4 inches to me isn't 4 inches to you, and is definitely not going to be 4 inches to that NAE. So clean the entire length of the catheter. You don't have to clean the ports, okay, right? Because you have the catheter itself, then you have the 2 ports at the end. Just clean the length of the catheter, okay, just like that, okay? The full length of the catheter. The fourth variable is using a clean area of the washcloth with each stroke. Now, it does not specify how many strokes the candidate has to use. So let me tell you, just use 1 stroke, okay? When you collect your supplies, collect 3 washcloths. Do not collect the towel. The towel, the diameter of the catheter is like this, okay? Very, very small. Try drying it with the towel. The towel is too bulky. So when you collect your supplies, collect 3 washcloths, one to wash, one to rinse, and one to dry. Okay. You're going to fold your washcloths like so. Okay. Remember when I was telling you about, you know, the modified bed bath, okay, using the open areas. Well, you're going to fold it the same way in 4s. Okay. When applying soap, you want to open it up, wet it, squeeze it out, just 1 squirt of soap, and then I'm getting soap over all areas of the washcloth, just like that, okay? The NAE is not going to go check and make sure there's soap over all areas of the washcloth. You just want to do it so she knows or he knows that it needs to be all over over the washcloth. So then you're going to fold it in 4s, okay? I'm going to take the catheter. I'm going to hold it at the meatus. Okay, so my fingers are touching the mannequin and holding the calf. I'm going to take that washcloth and I'm going to wrap it around the entire diameter of the catheter. I'm going to wash the catheter the full length. I'm going to gently place it down and release the washcloth and place the washcloth on my basin. I'm going to get my second washcloth and wet it, okay? And you don't have to unfold it if it's already folded. My second washcloth, wet it, squeeze it out, and perform rinsing in the same manner I did with washing. And place this washcloth around the entire diameter of the catheter. I'm going to gently, without tugging, this is a napkin and a book spine, so it's messing up. Rinse it again, gently place it down and release. My third washcloth, okay, third washcloth, I'm going to, again, this is the washcloth that you're going to dry with. Wrap it around the entire diameter of the catheter and dry the catheter, and then gently place the catheter down and take off, release the washcloth, okay? So just use 1 stroke. Once you start trying to use, oh, I'm sweating again. Once you start trying to use more than 1 stroke, you're going to mess up, okay? So for catheter care, just use 1 stroke to wash, rinse, and dry, as long as you get that washcloth around the entire diameter of the catheter. All right, and the 5th variable is the direction in which you clean the catheter. You just clean downwards away from the meatus, okay? Away from the meatus. So that is 5 variables if you omit or perform incorrectly that could cause you to fail this skill, okay? With catheter care and with peri care, you do not want to overexpose the person or the client, which is going to be the mannequin, because remember, peri care, catheter care, and the knee-high stocking are the only 3 skills performed on the mannequin. So when you raise the gown, you do not want to raise the gown above the person's hips or above the mannequin's hips. And when you lower the sheet, you do not want to lower it below the knees, okay? If you do, make a self-correction, okay? Because you're not only going to get the step, and which step is that? Step number 6 in catheter care, and steps number, that's foot care, mouth care. Step number 6 in peri care too. You're not only going to get a no for those steps, but you're going to get a tag for dignity and privacy, okay? And we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. So that's it with catheter care. Foot care, the most important thing to remember is that once you lift that foot up out of that basin, you cannot place it back in the basin, okay? So make sure, what I would do is once you place the foot comfortably in the basin, go ahead and get your first washcloth, wet it, squeeze it out, open it up, squirt soap, and get the soap all over the washcloth, and then lift the foot up out of the basin, okay? Because it's going to be really hard for you if you lift the foot up first. Now you only have 1 hand that you can work with, and you're going to have to try to wet the washcloth, try to put soap on it. How the heck are you going to get soap all over it, right? So prep your washcloth before you actually lift that foot up out of the water. Now, with washing, rinsing, and drying, you have to wash, rinse, and dry in between the toes. And when you do so, you need to verbalize, I'm washing in between the toes. I'm rinsing in between the toes. I am drying in between the toes. And make sure you do it, because the NAE is going to position him or herself to where they can see that you are actually doing that. Okay, just like with modified bed bath in the underarm or armpit. Okay, now when applying lotion, you apply a lotion on top of the foot and on the sole or bottom of the foot. Do not apply it in between the toes. I would also verbalize that. I'm placing lotion on top of the foot and on underneath the foot. I am not placing lotion in between the toes. Okay, and then you want to take that towel and dry off any excess lotion. Okay. Ooh, guys, I'm getting tired. I know y'all are too. We're gonna try to get through this real quick. We're on skill number 20, so we'll be done soon. Okay, mouth care. The most forgotten step in mouth care, there's actually two, is the removal of the towel. Remember, because you have to place the towel, drape a towel over the person's chest. The removal of the towel and wiping the person's mouth or cleaning the person's mouth after you brush their teeth. The two most forgotten steps in mouth care. The most incorrectly performed step is the holding or the placement of the basin. You're welcome, Ubi. You're welcome. You're welcome, Monica. The placement of the basin. So I'm just going to use this as a basin. I didn't bring any supplies with me, okay? It specifically states that the candidate is to hold the basin or the emesis basin to the chin, not underneath. So if you hold that basin like this, you're not going to get credit for, what step is that? For step number 10. Okay, you're not going to get credit. To the chin. So with the kidney basin, you know it has that indention in it, right? Because it's shaped like a kidney. That's what that indention is for, is to fit to the chin. So it has to be held like this, not like this. Okay, if you hold the basin underneath, you're not going to get credit, trust me. Okay, so it has to be held to the chin, like so. Okay, and the candidate, the testing candidate, has to hold it. If that client, the acting client, holds the emesis basin, you're not going to get credit. Okay, now they can hold their own cup. Okay, you can hand them the cup and then hold the basin, but you have to hold the basin. You want to make sure that you moisten the toothbrush before placing toothpaste over it. Excuse me. And then just remember to wipe the person's mouth. Critical element step number 8, there are 4 variables. The cleaning of the tongue, okay? It doesn't matter. It's not order dependent. So if you clean the tongue first and then the teeth, or the teeth first and then the tongue, it doesn't matter. But as with the armpit, your tongue is the dirtiest apparatus in your mouth, okay? Your tongue is what holds all of the bacteria. So I wouldn't want someone brushing my tongue than brushing my teeth, okay? I'm just saying, right? So I train my students, brush all surfaces of the teeth first, then tell the person, stick out your tongue, okay, and then clean their tongue. And when you're cleaning their tongue, verbalize, I'm cleaning the tongue, or I'm cleaning your tongue, okay, verbalize it. So that's one variable. The second variable is cleaning all surfaces of the teeth. So if you just clean the front and you don't do anything with the back, the molars, or you don't do anything with the canines or the flat surfaces of the teeth, you automatically fail. So you have to clean all surfaces, okay, even behind the teeth. And then the NAE is going to determine whether or not you're performing this skill gently. Are you brushing the teeth gently, or are you brushing the teeth rough? Okay, because if you're brushing rough, you're not going to receive credit. You're going to automatically fail the skill. Do you have gloves on? Okay. What's going to happen if you are not wearing gloves, as with bed bath, okay, or bed bath and bedpan, Peri care, you name it, any skill that requires the use of gloves. Um, what's going to happen is I have ungloved hands. This is the toothbrush, and I'm moving closer to the mouth. Right here is where the NAE is going to stop you, and they are going to tell you you need to put on gloves. Okay. If they have to tell you you not receive credit for the step, it's an automatic fail. Okay. Now, if you're like this and you're like, oh, shoot, I need to make a self correction, then you can correct and say, I need to put on gloves. Okay. But if the NAE tells you or instructs you to do so before you realize or recognize, then that's an automatic fail because that's a variable in the critical element step. Okay. So again, just don't forget to wipe the person's mouth and make sure that person is in a high Fowler's position when you are brushing their teeth. Peri care, again, steps 8 and 9. You got 1, 2 variables that could cause you to fail. You have to clean from front to back. So just think of it like this. When you're cleaning the front area, the front Peri area, you're working from basically from the stomach down, okay? Just like that, okay? Just from the stomach down. The back side, you're cleaning from your butt up towards your back, okay? So you won't forget it's from front to back. Think about how you clean yourself when you sit on the toilet. Seriously, that's what I tell my students. Think about, do you clean from back to front up? Nah, you don't do that. You clean from front to back, right? And the same with the anal area. You're not going to clean from back to front down into your vaginal area. You're not going to do that, right? So you're going to clean from front to back. Okay, just think up towards your back when you're cleaning the anal and buttocks area, and from your stomach area or pubic area down, okay, to your Peri area. Okay. That's a good question, Monica. All right, Monica asked, and Gabby just turned the light off again. Monica just asked, are the buttocks cleaned as well as the rectal area? You do not have to clean the buttocks, okay? I just train my students to do so because there's 4 corners of the washcloth. So that's how I train my students. If you watch my Peri care video, but you only have to clean the step is only requiring you to clean the rectal area. Okay. She's in here with me. Okay. So I hope I answered your question. Okay. And so therefore, if you're just going to clean the rectal area, all you need to do is use 1 stroke. That's it. Okay. Because it does not specify how many strokes to use. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Monica. You're welcome. All right, I gotta turn this light back on because it's dark. I can't see. Yeah, okay. So that's Peri care. Transfers from bed to wheelchair. Again, just like with ambulation, when you're placing, she's turning the light off again. When you're placing the gait belt around the person, make sure the gown is closed completely as much as possible in the back, and then tie that waist strap, okay? Because when you're putting on that gait belt, when you're manipulating the gait belt, the gown is also manipulating, is moving around, is going to open up, and that gait belt will eventually be touching the street clothes of the client, and you're not going to receive credit for the step. I got something for little Miss Gabby. Where is it? Here it is. Ha 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 ha. I got a flashlight. Okay. Now watch her take my flashlight because she loves lights. So again, you have to assist the person to a seated position. You have to assist them, assist with standing with their feet flat on the floor. And again, you have to initiate the putting on of their shoes. Okay. And that's just picking their shoes up, saying, here are your shoes. Do you need help putting them on? Or here are your shoes. Can you put them on for me? Okay. So you want to make sure that the wheelchair brakes are locked before standing the person. You want to make sure that the bed brakes are locked. These steps are not order dependent on each other. They're only order dependent on before standing the person. So just perform them in the most logical order, okay? In the most logical order. You want to make sure that that wheelchair is against the bed. Have it in a cornered position. The leg rest either opened or swung out to the side or folded up. And the reason being is because if that person has to take more than 2 steps backwards to sit into that wheelchair, it's going to be you're going to get dinged for safety. Okay. So you want to make sure that the wheelchair is positioned alongside the bed. It's at an angle to where that person, once you stand them up and pivot them, they take 1 step or 2 steps, and that's it. They're able to feel that wheelchair behind their knees, and you can sit them down, okay? No, a barrier is not needed for infection control. And yes, the feet have to be flat on the floor before the person puts their shoes on. Okay, it specifically states in the step, assist or candidate assists client in a seated position on the side of the bed with feet flat on the floor. So please make sure the person's feet are flat on the floor. That NAE is going to be positioned where he or she will be able to see whether or not the person's feet are flat on the floor. An easy thing to do also, because some folks are height challenged like me. I'm height challenged, right? So it may take a while for me to get at that edge of the bed to make sure my feet are flat on the floor, so much to where I may actually end up falling off the bed. So to help you, you could, instead of having that person scooch up to the edge of the bed till their feet are flat on the floor, just lower the level of the bed, right? Okay, lower the level of the bed until their feet are flat on the floor. So I tell my students to do it either way. For my students that are really short, I just tell them, hey, if so and so is a client, just lower the level of the bed. Excuse me. Okay. All right, guys, we are at the last skill, manual blood pressure. This is the only skill that the NAE is authorized to perform a safety stop. And the only way, thank you, Monica, thank you. The only way he or she is going to perform a safety stop is if you inflate the cuff greater than 200 millimeters of mercury. Okay. He or she will tell you, she's in here with me, sweetheart. She'll tell you to, Gabby's in here with me. She'll tell you, she'll tell you to stop performing the skill. You will not be allowed to complete this skill. You will automatically fail this skill, and she will tell you to move on to the next skill you're assigned. Okay, so what do I tell my students? Well, you have to inflate the cuff between 160 and 180 milliliters of mercury, right? In the middle is 170. That is the safety zone. Okay. So instead of trying to get right up underneath 180 or right up over 160, because if you try to get right up over 160, you're not going to go high enough. If you try to get up just below 180, you're going to go over. Okay. So you want to make sure that to be safe, just get it right there at the 170. Shoot for 170. It's right there, slap dab in the middle. Okay. You have control over the gauge. You have control over the gauge. So if you open it too fast, just turn it to the right to slow it down. Okay. You have control over it. So you want to release it slowly. You want to make sure that you not only clean the ears, both sets of the ears of the stethoscope, but you also clean the diaphragm and the bell. Okay, diaphragm and bell and the earpieces you have to clean. Okay, and you clean both earpieces. When you go to collect your supplies, please collect the teaching stethoscope. If you collect just the regular stethoscope, the NAE is not going to say anything to you. You're going to automatically fail because he or she is not able to listen in, okay, on the quarter cough sound. So you're automatically going to fail. So when you collect your supplies, collect your blood pressure cuff and the teaching stethoscope and an alcohol pad, okay? So how do you find the brachial? You're going to take your middle finger, trace your middle finger up, okay, to the crease of your elbow or the AC, and then just veer off to the right just a little bit, okay, to your where you're on your pink, excuse me, your little finger side, okay. So trace the middle finger up till you get to the crease of your elbow and just move slightly to your right, okay, on pinky side. Okay. Anatomically, we're all built the same. Okay. Some people, you may be able to feel their brachial, like I can feel mine right now. Okay. But on other, you may not feel it. So don't waste time trying to feel and get frustrated. Oh, no, I can't feel it. Right. All you do is trace that middle finger up. Bam. Okay. I feel it. Right. Because it's in the same spot for everybody. Really, it is. Okay. But wherever you say, okay, I feel it, right? You need to make sure that that arrow of the blood pressure cuff is over that site. And you need to make sure you place the diaphragm of the stethoscope up underneath the arrow, okay, of the blood pressure cuff. Ooh, Gabby's making it really dark. She just closed the door. Gabby, you're scary, mommy. um, so you want to do that. Listen for the quarter cough sound. There are several different types of quarter cough sounds. One sounds like a knock, like this. Others will sound like a whoosh, 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 whoosh. Okay, like that. Some may sound like a clicking, like that. Okay, so there's different sounds. Okay, just remember that the very first time you hear that quarter cough sound, that is the systolic number when your heart is working, or the top number. The very first time you no longer hear the sound, that is your diastolic number. Okay, the resting phase of your heart, the bottom number. You will never, ever, ever. Okay, when you're doing blood pressure manually, you will never, ever, ever have an odd number. Okay. Why? Because it's in increments of twos. Okay. So you will never have an odd number when you're doing a blood pressure manually. Okay. Always an even number. You have to be within plus or minus 8, both systolically and diastolically, of the evaluator's reading. Okay. And remember, with all measurement skills, you want to make sure that you verbalize washing your hands before you actually record. Make sure the person's call light is within reach. And well, I guess that's it, guys. Just want to talk to you real quick about the 5 indirect care skills. These play a major role in you passing or failing your skills. Those 5 indirect care skills are infection control, safety, privacy, dignity, and communication. Okay? Infection control, safety, privacy, dignity, and communication. Let's say you perform your skills beautifully, okay? Let's say you get 5 out of 5 skills correct, okay? Perform them beautifully. However, you messed up on infection control, regarding infection control, on 3 of those skills, okay? One of them being bedpan, okay? Bedpan infection control, you have to change out gloves twice during the skill, okay, or once. You put on gloves, take them off, then you have to put on another pair of gloves, take them off. Let's say each time you took off your gloves, you didn't verbalize afterwards washing your hands. Just infection control issues. Okay, guess what? Even though you performed all 5 skills, you received a satisfactory on them, you're going to fail your skills exam because of infection control. Remember what I told you about positioning on side. Pearson VUE has failed candidates for not readjusting that head pillow. Okay, that's a huge safety issue. Okay, you don't readjust it, you're blocking that person's airway. You block that person's airway, the person cannot breathe, the person will suffocate, right? So, huge safety issue with that. And that's why Pearson VUE fails people for not repositioning that head pillow. Let's say um, you're communicating with the live client, but when you perform a skill on the mannequin, you don't communicate with the mannequin. You're going to fail your exam, okay, due to lack of communication. All right. So even though the mannequin, you know it's a mannequin, I know it's a mannequin, the NAE knows that it's a mannequin. We know the mannequin's not real, but you have to treat that mannequin as it were a live person. Okay. You have to treat them as if they were alive. You have to talk to them as they were a live person. Okay. And I am going to end here because, oh my goodness, this was a long live stream. I'm just happy that y'all are able to, play back the live stream so you can watch, bits and pieces of it instead of the whole uh, thing. Again, I just want to appreciate your support. Whenever I have live streams, I do have the super chat enabled. So to help support my channel, you can donate to my channel by purchasing a super chat and getting you're welcome, Monica. You're welcome. Not a problem. Getting your comments highlighted. Again, I just typed in my business email address. If you would like the new CEP questions, I think, again, like I said, I think I have about 20 or 30 of them. Just email me, type in questions in the subject line. If you want a copy of the grid sheets that I use for my students, in the comment section, it actually gives you a little bit more information as to what the step is actually requiring you to do and how the NAE is actually evaluating you on these steps. Just, type in the subject line grid sheets. If you need a list of the supplies that are needed for each skill, just in the subject line, type in supply list. If you would like a copy of all, just type in the subject line all, okay? And I'll try to get that out to you by tomorrow evening. So I think that's it, guys. I am tired. I'm tired, and I know you are probably tired of hearing me talking. So I'm going to end this live stream now. Again, thank you so much for your support, and hopefully this live stream, the information in this live stream will help you. And there is one more thing I wanted to say, and I just can't remember. I'll probably remember once I end this live stream. I can't remember. I'm so sorry. I'm just so tired. I'm sorry. But anywho, thank y'all so much. Thank you for joining me in this live stream. I hope that you learned a lot tonight. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me and ask questions. I usually respond within a 24-hour period. If you visit my Facebook page, I usually respond a little quicker with my Facebook messages, just because I get the notifications a little quicker than I do with my emails. So don't hesitate to ask any questions. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Ubi. I appreciate you, Monica, Courtney, everyone that has joined me on my page. I thank you all so much. Jack, thank you so much. I hope that Samaya, thank you if you're still here. Liberty also, and Pretty as a Peach, thank you all so much for joining in on my live stream. Zariel, thank you so much. Agnes, thank you so much. And I hope I'm not skipping anyone. Zariel, let's see. Cameron, thank you so much. I think that's it. If I didn't mention your name, I apologize. But all of you who joined in with me, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate the love and the support that you give to my channel. And continue to support it. Tell your friends, tell your instructors, tell your classmates, and good luck. Okay. I will see you all later. I'm going to end. I got my flashlight here because Gabby has me in the dark now. But talk to y'all later. Ciao.